I was the engineer and eternal optimist spouse of Carter Rhodes, the type of man who— I wasn't naive. At least I thought that decent people would always choose love if they had enough time and understanding. I didn't think so, so I just trusted the woman I created my life with. And for 3 years, Ivy and I lived what I thought was the ideal. A small, comfortable townhouse with a garden, coffee, and mismatched cups. But she never had time to maintain it. Every Sunday, we would write down our plans in notebooks, where we would go, the names of our children, how we would age. She was captivating, witty, warm-eyed, and never stopped laughing. The type of woman who made everyone in the room stoop slightly, just to hear her next statement, and I never once doubted that we were a team. That I was the solid, methodical anchor, while she was the quick-witted spark. Concepts that were a little erratic, but always on the brink of something thrilling. It worked. At least, it used to. I recently completed debugging software for medical logistics while working on a project at work. A challenging section when I came to a realization. There was something I couldn't recall from our prior conversation. A detail, a moment. It struck me as strongly as when you wake from a dream and know you can't fall back into it. But I ignored it. Life became busy. People's schedules changed. It wasn't a big deal. She came home exhausted but grinning, with a yellow flag, subtle and waving. Usually she'd tell a story. Something ridiculous her employer, Sterling Voss, said at a board meeting, or how the new intern couldn't identify the copier. Those stories made me feel like I was still a part of her world, even though I wasn't. I didn't sit in skyscrapers or wear suits. But eventually those stories stopped. Then came the late nights. At first, once a week, like a faucet, trickling, slowing, not simply shutting off. I told myself she was just proving herself. Sterling Voss was renowned, intelligent, but cruel. And while Ivy was driven, I didn't want to stand in her way. But other things began to pile up. Like snowflakes on a roof, soft, quiet, unnoticeable, until too heavy to ignore. She stopped. Cooking. I ate alone, more often. She'd turn her back, scrolling through her phone, stopped wearing the lavender lotion I loved, and her face, unreadable in the glare of the television. One Friday, I asked her about it. She had started wearing a harsher, muskier scent. Nothing combative, just a curious question. She grinned. Wearily, "There are a lot of moving parts in this merger deal Sterling has us working on," she said. I nodded, like that settled it. But I knew stress. And this wasn't stress. This wasn't just forgetting pizza night, or pushing back our weekend getaway. This wasn't distance. This was absence. Absence with manners. I told myself it was a phase. All couples go through it. Maybe we just needed a vacation. I even proposed one. No phones. Just us. She said, maybe. But we never picked a date. Then one night I came home early. Wanted to surprise her. Cook dinner. Light some candles. Remind us of the foundation we built this marriage on. The house was quiet. I called for her. No answer. Then a text. Still at work. Don't wait up. No heart emoji. No apology. Just an update. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed wondering. When had Ivy started talking to me like a colleague? Hours passed. Her side of the bed stayed cold. When she finally came home, she slipped in quietly and murmured, "Sorry. Long day." I didn't respond, because I didn't know what to say. If I had, I would have told her. That was the moment I realized just how long I'd been deceiving myself. The calm I thought we had. Maybe it was peaceful disintegration. A slow, invisible shift. Until everything you believed in was just slightly off-center. But I convinced myself this was marriage. Poetry and fire. sometimes uncertain. Sometimes you just wait for the storm to pass. The problem was, I was the last to see the clouds, and I didn't realize the storm had already begun. The worst part was that, although I trusted everything that was said, I couldn't get Sterling's hand off her shoulder. Texts full of hints, the quiet that had festered between us like an untended wound. I would have protected you, I said. All you needed to do was inform me that I was keeping you safe. She lost her temper after acting carelessly, reckless. It was too late to avoid turning into the type of man who loses everything. For someone like him, previously established. When the house was silent that evening and Ivy eventually went upstairs, I chose to sit instead of follow her. Gazing at the fireplace, the one we hadn't used since Christmas, in the dimly lit living room, I reflected on all the times The new scent was discarded. The phone was given over, and the abrupt justifications, they weren't merely expressions of shame, they were indications of fear. Despite being emotionally trapped between ambition and self-preservation, she had managed to survive. In the dark, that treachery carried weight. At approximately 11:15, I got up, grabbed my coat, and silently left the house. The night air was heavy, sharp, but I couldn't feel it, because I didn't know where I was going, only that I continued, until I reached the halfway point. Sterling's building was as streamlined and antiseptic as the man himself. A glass structure, located in a part of the city where people were driven, not walked, so I parked far enough down the street to not draw attention, and waited until 12:03 a.m. He came out, alone, no driver. Tonight, he walked toward his Jaguar by himself, wearing a long, dark coat, leather gloves, and the same haughty demeanor. Before he could open the door, I emerged from the shadows, like a man without repercussions. He hesitated. Then, a smug smile formed at the corner of his mouth. He recognized me instantly. "Well," he said, "late. Night walk? Or are you here to cry some more?" Then, sneering, "If it isn't the concerned husband," my jaw tightened. I stepped closer. "She told me everything," I said, voice firm. "The messages, the pressure, the way—" He arched an eyebrow. "You made her feel like she couldn't say no," I continued. "I doubt that she ever truly said no. I didn't think I moved, but I must have, because my fist made contact with his jaw before he could finish that arrogant sentence. He stumbled back against the car, more stunned than injured. But he didn't stop there. He tried to swing. I dived forward,